I was 21, I was in a nightclub dancing, and I all of a sudden saw the room as just a place where people were moving in the dark and nothing was really getting accomplished. And it's just kind of like, what are all these people doing? Like, if you turn the lights on, everyone's just whatever. And I was like, you're 21, like, you gotta start thinking about your life, right? And so I just, all of a sudden, it was like overnight, bam, I just got self-discipline. And I decided, because I was not gonna get laid, so I was going to get self-discipline. And get rewarded by society because you did such a great job, not that like, yeah, you got laid. It's like society was going to definitely reward me. So I went to school, in San Francisco, and I went through this long period. I would wake up at 5:30 in the morning, and I would do all of my required reading. I would go to school, and this was design school. I would get all of the work done ahead of time. There was absolutely no room for boys, and I desperately, desperately, desperately wanted a boyfriend, but I just didn't know how, I guess, and it was easier to do something like go to school and get good grades and become an amazing fashion designer than get rewarded that way than have a boyfriend. It was easier for me to do that. So I did that my entire time in San Francisco. My 20s basically was spent working very hard, going to school, and being terrified of anything else. So when I got my first job after school, I wrote a personals ad. Somebody was like, you should write a personals ad. And I was like, all of a sudden I realized, like, if I were ever a writing teacher, my assignment would be write a personals ad. Because it is the hardest thing to like take yourself and reduce it to this tiny little amount. But I did, and it was something like Atomic Neatnik 25 into records, Hawaii Five-0, and rubber cement. Seeking someone for like astrological, bicycle riding, jello setting amour. And nobody responded. And I'm like, is this really happening? So, whatever. I didn't go on any dates, and this was the time when you would call up and you could call people's ads, and it was like, yeah, I have a swimmer's build, and I'm like 6'1", and blah, 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 blah. And it's just nobody sounded fun. So a couple weeks later, or a couple months later, I was reading the personals ad, and one of them was like, 23-year-old astrological, blah, 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 like lover into blue and records and like the Curiosity Shop, loves, like, looking for a, red-headed, sweet, freckled guy for, long chats about the universe. And I was like, holy shit, this is totally made for me. So if any reason, it's just like it was the same. It sounded exactly the same kind of way. I was like, this guy's speaking to me. So I called, and we had a date. It's like I had my first date in like, I was 25, and I hadn't been on a date since I was like 19 or so. So, which was a weird date. But we just talked about astrology the whole night long. And I was just like, I'm totally in love, Like, I'd never allowed myself that. And he was amazing. He had like really blue eyes and this like beautiful kind of Jesus hair. And we spent the whole time like talking and walking around the Haight-Ashbury, like walking up Octavia, I remember, and like the stars, and like just like totally making out, you know, in front of his like Victorian flat that he shared with 10 other people. And it was amazing. I mean, it really like blew my mind, and I didn't want to ruin it, so I wanted to do everything for him, you know? Like, I wanted to like make sure like I bought him a pair of shoes, I did all these things. I was so insecure looking back on it now, but I just did not want this guy to leave. Like, I needed someone to love me, and I needed to love someone in this like relationship way that I had never felt. And so we were together. We were inseparable. He slowly turned. He started like he was very sweet, but he started like slowly turning into a bona fide hippie. And it was not what the 25-year-old neatnik could handle, like candle wax and glitter, like in my designer shoes, or like my, you know, like he would burn, he goes, "This is my altar." All that kind of stuff. We ended up going down to Southern Oregon together on the Green Tortoise. And I have like a beret on and a little like, you know, a beret and a turtleneck on, and there were all these people there like holding hands and sharing, and you know, it's like, "Who are you tonight?" "Oh, I'm Terwilliger Curves." It's like, "Who are you?" "I'm China Silk." And I'm like, "I'm Adam." And they're like, "You just don't get it. What are you into, some Zen thing?" You know, and my boyfriend is like trying to get everyone to like come, like, it's just like trying to get me into like all these like orgies and stuff like that. And I just want to knit and enjoy the scenery. Eventually we broke up. He was extremely manipulative, but in that dogmatic hippie star-crossed, like, "There's a reason we're together, and I'm here to teach you about altars and meditation and experience." And I'm like, I fucking like experienced so much shit you would not even imagine. You could not even see it if you tried. But we broke up, and then for 2 months, and he came back, and then he's like, "You know what, like, I think like sex is so great. Like, we should just have sex. And then, you know, we don't have to be boyfriends or anything." So I finally was like, okay, like, yeah, the sex is great. And like, I was undeniably attracted to him. So I went over to his house, and we had sex, and I came out, and there was a big fucking earthquake. Like, after I left his house, there was like this earthquake, and I was like, now that is totally what I call a sign.